Welcome to The Script, a podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. His real name via satellite is Cardale Jones. His nickname is Beanie Wells. I'm Dave Holmes. First things first, you might notice if you're watching on YouTube, Cardale is not here with us. Cardale, the holidays are supposed to be about family and being together. Where are you right now?
You know, last week it was in a really cool place, Las Vegas. Now I'm in a place even better, Cleveland, Ohio. So yeah, here to see the family, here for a little business, and always enjoying the great state of Ohio.
All right. Well, you and I are both Northeast Ohio guys, Beanie, so we won't argue with that. We'll let it be. That's right. Good stuff. So we got a lot to talk about this week. Let's start with the game we watched last week. Miami Hurricanes beat Texas A&M 10-3 in a brutal football game to watch. It was entertaining, like a train wreck, but it was kind of rough at times. So, Beanie, what did you think of the way the Canes were able to survive the Aggies?
I was impressed because I didn't have it going the way that it did. You know, I thought Marcel Reed, Mike Elko would go out and create a game plan to where they would pin their ears back and get after Carson Beck and cause havoc. They didn't necessarily do that. And then I thought Marcel Reed would be able to extend plays and you'll be that big-time playmaker that we saw him be all year. Miami's defense, they showed me they were real. When they've gotten time to kind of focus and zero in and game plan on teams, they can get it done. Heck, Ruben Bain had 3 sacks. Akeem Messenger, a sack and a half. Those guys were all over the field. It definitely, and I know a couple of weeks ago, I said that I'd rather play Miami.
Yeah, I was going to ask you on that. The follow-up, do you still feel that way?
I don't know, man. After watching that performance, Miami's going to be a tough team. I think Ohio State is still one of the best, if not the best team in the country. But Miami's going to be a tougher task than I anticipated.
Cardale, you also said a couple weeks ago you would rather get the Hurricanes. Have you changed your mind on that at all?
No, yeah, I definitely wanted Miami versus A&M as far as just location-wise because I feel like it was going to be a home game for A&M, even though they didn't take care of business literally at home, right in that backyard with all of the momentum and all of the things that come with playing at home. But I think Miami ultimately is a better team. I look at A&M over the last couple of weeks. Well, last 2 games where she saw them, they did not look like the same A&M that was running through the lesser opponents of the SEC. Their own test up until then was Notre Dame, a game they should have lost. So I never thought A&M was an all-power dominant team. Yeah, can they make some noise, especially what they're doing on defense and Marcel Reed at the quarterback position? Yeah, but I think Miami was the complete team, and they showed it last week.
Yeah, if we go back to August, I remember both of you loved Miami, and then they came out strong, then they got banged up. They're starting to get back there. So, Beanie, what scares you most about this current state of Miami?
You know what? Just their defense. Their defense has played phenomenally. I mean, to hold, Marcel Reed to the yardage in which they held him, to hold that offense to only 3 points, I thought that was the most impressive thing. And then, one of the inconsistent things that Miami has done all year or hasn't done all year was run the football. They got Mark Fletcher Jr. going, and what do you have, 170-plus yards in that football game? I mean, if there's a way that you're going to be able to tackle Ohio State, most certainly, I think everybody agrees, is to pin your ears back and use those pass rushers that you have to get after the young quarterback. And then on the offensive side, you're not going to make these explosive plays on a consistent basis. It's going to be slowly and methodically getting chunk yardage, 5, 6, 3, 4. And if they can run the ball like this, they'll make this game very challenging.
It's funny, Cardale. I bet a lot of Buckeye fans did not watch a single Miami game all year. And they probably think that Mark Fletcher should have been on the stage in New York City at the Heisman Trophy. It wasn't like this all year. Miami struggled to run the ball, but my goodness, Cardale, Mark Fletcher looked like a man possessed. And we know his story. He was originally an Ohio State commit. He flipped. So what did you think of the way Miami was able to run the ball so effectively against Texas A&M?
I wasn't shocked because Miami is one of the teams I said over the last couple of weeks actually was pounding the table for them to get into this playoff system over Notre Dame because one, of the head-to-head matchup, and two, they're playing some of the best football of anybody at the right time. And on top of that, they're getting healthy at the right time. Everyone want to talk about that 2-game streak that they lost 2 or 3 in the middle of the season, but you look at that roster was pretty much at probably 70 to probably at best 75% ready to play. And we saw what the roster looked like at 100% earlier in the season versus Notre Dame. So I stayed high on Miami for those reasons. And Oregon's another team I know we're going to get into the same thing where you talk about getting healthy at the right time. This team did the same thing I thought that Indiana would do if they want to have success versus Ohio State. Make their quarterback very uncomfortable. Marcel Reed is still young as the quarterback position of taking over the starting role for his first year. And then on the flip side, being able to control the line of scrimmage from the running game, which they did with Mark Fletcher, we're going for over 170.
Yeah, so both you guys have said that you are at least concerned about the Miami defensive line. It's a strength of their team. The last time we saw Ohio State play, Julian Sayin was running for his life at Lucas Oil Stadium because Indiana was all over him. So I'll start with you, Beanie, but Cardale, weigh in on this for sure. This is a concerning matchup to me. Now, I think Ohio State still wins, but my main concern here is you almost have strength on weakness here. And if there is something that you should be worried about with Ohio State, it's probably that O-line. And now, Beanie, they're playing a team that exploits that sort of thing.
The thing, and I don't know if we're going to get into it a little bit later on, but the thing that excites me about, what we're going to be doing on the offensive end is Ryan Day back taking over the play calling. So with that being said, I don't know if you guys remember, you go back and you look at the start of the second half, that first series when Ohio State got the ball. They went up-tempo offense, moved the ball, got the ball out of Julian Sayin's hands so quickly, and they were more efficient on the offensive end in the way that they were operating. I think with Ryan Day back at the helm, that's going to be more of the same. They're not going to have a lot of time to where we're doing a lot of five-step drop and we're slowing the game pace down to where the defense can pin their ears back and get after the young quarterback. I think this is going to be an up-tempo game. Now, what does that do to Julian Sayin because he hasn't been used to playing like that all year long? I think it's going to make him turn his internal processor up a little bit and speed things up. And hopefully that doesn't lead to interceptions. But nonetheless, Ryan Day is going to be super honed in on getting the ball out of his hands really quick and calling plays to where, if it's not there right downfield, that chunk shot, take the check down and let's live to fight another day to where we're not making these mistakes.
You're my quarterback, Cardale. Can you confirm it's impossible to sack a quarterback if he's not holding the football? That's Beanie's theory here. If he just goes three-step fire, is that the way you would attack this?
You know what? I don't think I would do too many things differently from what has got me to this position right now because I don't want to overreact. I don't want to overreact to the lack of success we have versus Indiana. I want to self-evaluate, self-scout, and then kind of add that into the resume that I've already been doing to get here because once you start doing certain things to a certain point of changing who you are to get to this point, and we talked about this 4 or 5 weeks ago going into the Michigan game, that Ohio State last year team looked completely different. Last year, going into that game, they tried to be a ground and pound and run in between the tackles, but to their two All-Americans and things like that, and it wasn't the same Ohio State offense that we came to see. I'm sticking with what got you there. Clearly you got to mix some things up after the self-evaluation. But at this point of the season, I mean, if it's really not broken, I don't think it really is. Clearly, you're making some changes in the play call. You don't have to fix it.
So, Cardale, if it's like first quarter and they've already got a couple sacks and some pressures on him, as a quarterback, do you start to get spooked? Do you change the way you look at things? Like, what would you do in a situation if you were Julian Sayin and you're just getting attacked every play?
I mean, first and foremost, it starts with making sure we in the right protection and making sure we have an idea where Ruben Bain is at every snap on the field because we just saw he can be a game record, not a game changer, a game record. So it starts there. And 2, maybe getting those tackles, some help with the running backs and chips and things like that. And then 3, like you guys mentioned earlier, is really getting the ball out of his hands, right? Making this defense run left or right and get these guys tired so it can exploit the running game later.
Yeah, and the bad part, Beanie, about offensive line issues is they show up in pass protection, and quite often they also show up in the running game. And so how confident are you that Bo Jackson can get it going against this defensive line?
I'm real confident. One of the things that, you look at when you talk about Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Messidor is those guys are predominantly pass rush guys, like pass rush specialists. Even though, Ruben Bain can do a little bit of everything, I think he's more successful when he's rushing the pass on those third and long type situations. So for us to be able to run the football, I thought we did a very good job versus Indiana running the ball. And Indiana was a tough defense, a great defensive line. It was just a matter of doing it consistently. I thought we got a chance to see Bo Jackson going. I think for the most part, our offensive line is going to be just fine running the football. I think they'll create those lanes. I think it's going to be more of a when we would decide to run the ball opposed to, us being successful doing it, whether or not we're going to be successful doing it. I thought versus Indiana, there were some times we probably should have pulled the ball down and ran it, even with the quarterback. And the play calling was a little bit topsy-turvy, especially in that red zone situation. If you get a 3rd and 1, heck, and you already know that you're going to go for it, why not run it with a young running back that is going to run hard and give you everything he has, as opposed to, putting it in the quarterback's hands to try to do it?
Okay, let's talk about what I think is the most fun storyline from this game. All right, 2 years ago, Jeremiah Smith is the #1 player in all of high school football. He's committed to Ohio State. At the last second, Miami keeps calling him, and they try to flip him at the last second. If you don't know it, he's from South Florida. He's from that area. as well as Kenyatta Jackson. There are a lot of Florida guys on this team, Brandon Innes, but Jeremiah Smith was the guy. All right. They didn't flip him. Now, JJ, I was at the news conference on Monday. JJ was chirping a little bit. He was a little chatty, and he said he expects it to be chippy. He knows a lot of these guys. And I asked him, I said, now, when you say chippy, do you mean like late hits? Do you mean, and he said, I'm not worried about late hits because I'm probably going to be doing some of that too.
I heard that.
I mean, so, and then he said, quote, we got something for them on New Year's. Guys, do you like your JJ chippy? Cardale, I'll start with you. And what do you think about when your receiver's out there running his mouth?
I do, because we saw what he said, I want to say earlier this year about never losing to Michigan again. And I think that's come true so far. So when a guy like that is saying something, a guy that's known to be so quiet and laid back and kind of to himself, when he says anything, everybody listen. He can say the sky is pink and everybody like, oh, it is. So when you got a player like that of that magnitude who's not just been doing it consistently over this last couple of weeks, but over his career at Ohio State, you kind of listen. So I'm not shocked he said anything like that, because I think, it's been a lot of built up things over the last week and a half or two, getting riled at the Blitney call for the second straight year and things like that. So I'm expected to see him playing a whole nother level.
So I've got these Miami Hurricane fans in my mentions on Twitter. It is miserable right now. I posted this video and all these Miami clowns are on me. Like, you haven't watched us. You think we're cheap. You think we late hit. I was like, no, guys, he said it was going to be chippy.
Right,
I'm not implying you're like, get out of my mentions, Miami. So Beanie, your thoughts on JJ saying, quote, we got something for them.
I love it.
All right.
Love it.
I knew you would.
I mean, anytime, you get your star player going out saying, you know what, this is what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Your ears got to perk up and you got to be zoned in on what's going to happen, because he, like Cardale said, he's not a guy that runs his mouth, that gets chippy, that does anything, that he's not supposed to do. He's straight-laced for the most part. But when you get a guy like that, that's quiet, that says gloves are off and they get on the edge, that's who you worry about. You always worry about the quiet kid that is physically imposing, but always is a very nice guy in school. But then he says, hey, hold up, chill out now, and you keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you better watch out. He's about to let loose. And then like Cardale said, I mean, he was robbed of the Biletnikoff. Mm-hmm. There were so many other storylines of this year with Jeremiah Smith to where he's kind of taking a high road. I like him see him go low. Go low. Mm-hmm. Go lower. I can't wait for this game. I can't wait to see what he does. And then he actually talked about the fact that, they were still talking about this 2001 game. That was 20 years ago.
Fiesta
But it's
Bowl.
all right. It's all right. We got some for him. We know everybody in Miami, he grew up in it. Everybody in Miami thinks that was a national championship that they were robbed from. And heck, I don't think they've been to a national championship since then, right?
No, they broke the program.
Yeah, they broke the program. So, for them and those fans, they're going to be chomping at the bit. And I'm sure Jeremiah has heard it his entire life about what Ohio State did to him. Ohio State cheated him. Well, no, this is an opportunity to go toe-to-toe, square to square, and see if you can get past us. And the way Jeremiah Smith is pitching it is, I'm going to hit you in the mouth first.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing he said, he was so forthcoming about his injury. He said he didn't think he was going to be able to play against Michigan. Ryan Day said mentally he wasn't good that week because he was freaking out. And Ryan Day said something, Cardale, that he said he told Jeremiah Smith the week of the Michigan game, look, we're going to win this game with or without you. Don't you worry about it. Now, we'd rather have you out there. It'll be a lot easier. But he kind of talked about it. I was surprised to hear him so forthcoming about his injuries. It sounds like JJ was in a rough spot a couple weeks ago, but he's 100% now, Cardale.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like that, and I think that gives a lot of credit to the staff over there at the Woody Hayes, the athletic department, with those. I mean, the athletic trainers and those guys over there being able to get him to a point feeling comfortable to go out there and play. Especially as how serious he described that injury. I think it happened in a Rutgers game. It was.
UCLA. Maybe UCLA?
Because he didn't play Rutgers. Yeah, he didn't play Rutgers game. Him or Cardale didn't play Rutgers game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm confident in him. I think 75% JJ Smith is still, a lot better than 100% guys around the country.
All right, I want to get your guys' thoughts on Carson Beck, Miami's quarterback. Comes in with a huge pedigree. He's a Georgia transfer. Goes to Miami. He's one of the crown jewels on the transfer portal. It's been hit or miss at times with Carson Beck. Beanie, where do you stand on Carson Beck?
I think he can be super talented if he's focused and locked in. We've seen him make all the great throws. I think he started off the year, his first 5 games, he was almost like 80% efficient, passing the football, made great decisions. But the thing that, to me, that lacks with Carson Beck is his leadership. I think we've seen a lot of times, especially when they've lost in those press conferences, kind of him shift blame and say, well, I can't call the plays. These plays weren't my fault. This guy just dropped this ball. This ball was tipped here. And when you got a quarterback like that, to me, in big moments, that's not what I want out of my starting quarterback. I don't want a guy that's going to shift blame. Now, is he talented? 100%. But if guys get in his face, like that will be the case with Ohio State, with our defensive line, I think he can kind of falter. He can kind of get in his own head. And now that leads to inconsistent play. That leads to you speeding up your reads, speeding up your progressions, and ultimately leading to interceptions. And I think that probably will be the case. I didn't think he played exceptionally well versus Texas A&M either.
Yeah, well, if we know one thing, Cardale, Miami goes at these quarterbacks in the portal. They went after Cam Ward, turned him into the #1 draft pick overall for the Tennessee Titans. This time it's Carson Beck. Do you think he's good enough to take them to a championship?
You know what? Carson Beck is very streaky. Over the last 4 weeks before they made the bid and jump into the playoff system, I mean, he was completing 80% of his passes versus some quality opponents, and I think that's also due to guys getting back healthy. But streaky is the thing that I think of when I think about Carson Beck. He's a guy that can do the 80%, and that he's also a guy that can throw into the other team a lot. I think things around him has to be going well for him to be elite. Unfortunately, I don't view him as a guy that's making guys around him that much better versus being a product of the talent around him. You look at his time at Georgia. I mean, they go to national championships on the backs of, 2 unbelievable years of defensive star power. I think it was 20 plus guys drafted to the NFL in 3 years off that defense. And then clearly a rookie that was all pro as a tight end, and Brock Bowers that you had to throw the ball to. And there's some pretty good running backs as well. So when things are going good around him, he's good. But, I would love to see Ohio State put him in a tough situation where he's saying go out there and win the game. Fortunately for Miami, he has done that before in his career. You look at the game-winning drive versus Notre Dame earlier in the season. And like I said, over the last 4 weeks, completing close to 80% of his passes. But he's streaky, so you never know what you're going to get. I think it's the same situation with, we talk about the keys to victory for Miami on the other side of the ball of their D-line getting after Julian Sand, vice versa. If our front seven get after Carson Beck, he's going to throw the ball a lot to our secondary.
Yeah, well, we're just getting started here on The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Make sure you hit us up at The Script OSU on all social. Coming up next, we're going to look back at that Fiesta Bowl that Beanie referenced. Plus, Brian Hartline now stepping to the side a little bit. Ryan Day taking over play calling. A lot to break down coming up on The Script. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did. Well, let me put you onto something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week. Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transfer to the hottest team in the league.
That's right. Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies, they're making their undeniable rookie season one for the books. Enjoy first-string flavor from some 5-star recruits. Rep your new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure you cheer with your mouth closed.
Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and that new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join the team that won't upset you with an upset.
Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies. Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook. All right, huddle up. Tendies on 3. Tendies on 3. 1, 2, 3. Tendies. Let's do this. Wendy's Chicken Tendies now at participating U.S. Wendy's.
For Buckeyes and businesses, Branded Bills has you covered. Whether you're showing your scarlet and gray pride or you're building a brand of your own, nothing tops a custom hat.
Branded Bills is a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics with licensed Buckeye headgear that looks just as good in the horseshoe as it does when you're walking around Columbus. And beyond game day, they specialize in custom headwear that helps businesses, teams, and communities stand out with premium fit, finish, and style.
So whether you are a diehard Buckeye, an entrepreneur, or just someone who want to rep their story, check out Branded Bills. Explore their official licensed Ohio State collection or design your own custom hat built just for you. Branded Bills for Buckeyes and businesses, licensed pride, custom style.
Welcome back to The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Click subscribe right now if you're watching the YouTube video version. Also follow us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the Fiesta Bowl back in 2003. maybe the greatest college football game ever played, if not for USC Texas. I'll put that right there as well. But the Buckeyes won in double OT to win a national championship. Beanie, Miami fans, according to Jeremiah Smith, still angry. That flag came out about 12 minutes after the play ended. They think it was late. What do you remember? Do you remember where you were the moment that they won that title?
Yeah, I was at home sitting on the couch with my dad. I think I was in the maybe 9th, 10th grade. And me and my dad were watching the game. And you know what? They, make reference to the flag that was called in overtime, right? Mm-hmm. Me and my dad were sitting there pissed off because in regulation, I don't know if you remember, there was a penalty it was a flag that should have been called. There was a pass interference that should have been called on Chris Gamble that wasn't called. Mm-hmm. So if that's called, we extend the downs. And there's never a situation to where you even go to the first overtime. Mm-hmm. So they remember they have selective memory. They don't remember everything that transpired in that football game. Me and my dad were sitting there pissed, like, how could this happen? How could these refs miss it? And this was the first time my dad used the reference of, there's so much money in college football. Why can they not make the right calls? And, I always say that to this day because, there's a lot of money at stake. Yeah. But nonetheless, Miami fans have selective memory. But I remember watching that game down the wire, down the stretch, and, watching Ohio State come out victorious, but it should have never went to overtime, people. You should have lost that game in regulation.
Yeah, I remember watching that game. I think I was a junior in college, and we were all at a friend's apartment watching it. We were going absolutely nuts. It was one of the best games. Cardale, I'm trying to place you. You would have been like, what, 6, 7 years old?
I was in elementary school. I remember watching that game, and my family was over around that time of the year, and we were just kind of doing our festivities for, the holiday season. And I remember saying after a game going into overtime and not even knowing what this meant, I'm like, whoever wins, that's the school I'm going to. Like, I don't even care. And this was after my first or second year of Little League football. And I'm talking about I'm going to Ohio State or Miami and come in, fast forward, having an offer from both of those guys and always remembering that story in the back of my mind. And now we're sitting here talking about that because of this upcoming game between the Buckeyes and the Hurricane. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I remember literally watching that game and like spazzing out because I didn't even care who I wanted to win at that point. I mean, I just wanted to see a good game, and it was just like, yeah, whoever wins, this is school I'm going to go to. It's so cool.
And you stood by your word,
right?
You stood by your word.
Low key.
He committed in elementary school in his mind.
Exactly.
So this is funny, guys. So the last time we saw Ohio State play was December 6th in that Big Ten championship game. They're going to play on the 31st. So do the math there, Beanie. That's a 25-day layoff. It's basically camp all over again. Now, both of you guys have been here, so both of you can weigh in on this. But Beanie, when you have these long bowl trips, all right, long bowl breaks rather, we saw last year the teams with the bye weeks did not fare well. Now, maybe that's because some teams got byes that shouldn't. Maybe better teams didn't. You see it in the NFL, though, a lot of times, where a wild card team goes to the Super Bowl.
They get hot.
So what do you think about 25 days off, and how do you make sure that's not you getting upset?
Look, it's a little bit different from when I played, right? We had, I want to say it was almost like 60 days or something like that. Mm-hmm. From the time we played Michigan just before Thanksgiving, we didn't play again until January. We played in our national championship game back in 2006. But then it was almost like a vacation, right? It was a glorified vacation because you go, you travel, and you're out in Arizona, you're working out, and you're practicing, all preparing for that game. But there was a lot of different noise and distractions. Mm-hmm. I love the way that they do it now. The guys aren't leaving so early. I think they only make it, like a 3 or 4 day weekend. Yeah. So these guys are honed in, they're in their routine. And I think it'll be a little bit different. Back when we was playing, that was a long time to be not playing because you had guys doing just about everything under the sun, not focused on that football game. This is a little bit different because you're at home, you're in your comfort zone, and then the coaching staff understands the magnitude of the moment, and these guys have been here before. While last year they didn't get the bye, but nonetheless, they've been in this situation to where they know what to expect. They know the expectation of them. Yet, having 25 days off is a long time for anybody. Now, I expect for us to go out there and start off slow initially. Mm-hmm. I think just about any team in the country will go out and do that. But I expect it to not be a long phase to where it impacts the game entirely.
Cardale, I forget, how long was that break between the time you guys gave Wisconsin that beatdown and then the Sugar Bowl in Alabama?
I think it was just right around 3 weeks or something like that as well. It probably wasn't this long because it was no bye. It was only 4 teams. But it was a long time. I remember it became 15 practices, and we treated it almost like a spring ball / camp type of environment and situation. And the same thing, we went down, I think a few days before, didn't have the whole bowl game experience that you usually have when you're going down, almost 5 days before. But when you talk about having that time off, it's a great time to self-evaluate. Right. It's a great time to self-evaluate. And the last time we seen Ohio State, I'm pretty sure they feel like they didn't put their best foot forward. We've seen Indiana do some things to them. We've seen no other team was able to do to them. So they had a lot of time to self-evaluate. So you can look at it on that side of things, and also getting guys back healthy is a key part of that as well. But none of that substitute from going across the field versus another team in a different color jersey. So you always have that worry in the back of your mind, like, okay, is my guys ready? They're going to come out flat. What the situation is going to be? Just like some things that Beanie mentioned.
Yeah, Cardale, let me keep you in here for a second because I want to ask you about Miami in the NIL era. Cardale is our authority here on all things Ohio State NIL. Miami seems to be very aggressive. They almost got Jeremiah Smith. They flipped the Mark Fletcher. I mean, where does Miami stand in kind of the hierarchy in the world you're dealing with?
They're up there. They're up there because they're at a point where they're trying to do anything to get back to those glory days or anything to win. We saw the big splash they made for Cam Ward last year, and the supposedly high number price tag that came with Carson Beck this year. And then, they didn't just flip Mark Fletcher last year during National Signing Day. It was a lot of guys, and I actually made a tweet a few years ago about, this NIL era and specifically Miami and wanting recruits to really lock in and pay attention to where not just all the money is, but where are you getting developed to have opportunity at the next level. And at that point, I didn't think it was Miami, and I kind of still don't think it's Miami for certain positions. You don't see guys that's walking in there, 3-star guys, and coming out having an opportunity to be drafted in the first 2 to 3 rounds, I would say. So the development for me is still not there. I'm looking at it as kind of as, I wouldn't say fool's gold, but kind of like, striking hot while getting good, right? So at that point where recruits going there and getting a lot of money, and really after they leave Miami in the last couple of years, you don't really hear from these guys. So when you're talking about the long-term longevity and development and playing on this stage every year, Miami, you had to pound the table to get in, and actually pound the table for you guys. Ohio State, it was never a doubt these guys are going to be in the 12-team playoff system. I mean, for me, anytime in the foreseeable future, but Miami is always going to be up in the air.
Yeah, the Buckeyes back in the Cotton Bowl for the second straight year. Last year, they took care of Texas in Texas. This year, they get Miami, Beanie. When you go back to the same venue a second time, I expect Ohio State's crowd to travel much better. Miami's crowd doesn't even like to go to games in Miami.
Right.
So
right.
They sure don't want to get on a plane and go to Dallas. So what do you expect as far as crowd there? I'm guessing it's going to be 75-25 Buckeyes.
Yeah, 100%.
And then does it matter when you play in the same venue back-to-back years like this? You kind of know your hotel, your walk through AT&T Stadium. Does that matter? Is that something that media guys like me throw out there and it's a non-storyline?
You know what? I mean, I think it matters. One, let me start with the 75-25. I think most certainly Ohio State was going to have more fans there. Mm-hmm. And we can't forget, Miami is a smaller institution, so their fan base is naturally smaller. But like you said, they don't travel well regardless of anything anyways.
Does Pitbull have a concert that night? Because that could draw some fans away too. I don't know if Pitbull's playing the club.
Exactly.
Now I want the Miami smoke in my mentions. Bring it on. All right,
Bring it on.
Yeah, go ahead.
But nonetheless, when you're playing in a place you're familiar with, absolutely helps. I mean, you're not trying to figure out where you need to be. Obviously, both of those teams have a certain itinerary, but it's a little more comfortable. You understand your routine. You understand where you're going to be for meetings. You understand where you're going to be for walkthrough, and nothing is new. It's almost like being at home. Right? I mean, you get an opportunity to go through the same routine, the same system in which you were doing at the crib, and you're going to a familiar place. You can actually do that. So in my opinion, it does help. It certainly does help. And I don't care what sideline you're on, if you're a home team or you're the away team. Nonetheless, you're in a place that you're familiar with, that you've been there before, and you can wake up probably in the same hotel that they woke up in last year, and you get some of the same jitters, understanding what you were able to do last year too. So you understand, you have that confidence. I would love to check Ohio State's record in the Cotton Bowl, because if I'm not mistaken, it's dang sure pretty good. And I don't know if it's perfect, but it's got to be close to it.
Yeah, and the one they lost was the game where basically they folded the program for 24 hours when they played against Missouri. Obviously, Cardale knows a thing or two about playing a game in AT&T Stadium. So what do you make of this? 75-25? You think this is going to be a big-time Buckeye crowd?
Yeah, definitely. Outside of just Buckeye fans traveling well, there's a huge presence of Buckeye fans and Dallas as well. So I think that also helps. And then Beanie made a good point about Miami. I think it's roughly 20 to 25,000, undergrad in that program. But I think they still have an unbelievable following of people who didn't go to Miami, who just love the Hurricanes from back in the day, and really up until now, because I do think they on the rise of getting back to some of those glory days, and without a slip up or two, I mean, they could have easily been a top 4 team this year. So, but the Buckeye fans, I think they definitely going to dominate the stadium.
Okay. Cardale, we actually we might need to hold off what we're saying about Miami because Amy over at CBS, she's one of the head producers over there. She's diehard Miami. She is a Miami grad, so she might be giving us a little smoke right now if we talk too bad about Miami.
Yeah, she may be salty at us, but I mean, I got to get Mackenzie Brooks. I got to stab at her a little bit because she's picking Georgia to win it all. And then, if everything pans out, Georgia and Ohio State would play, following both teams playing. So you're basically saying they're going to beat, my Buckeyes. So, Mackenzie Brooks, all our little CBS family, we got some beef with a lot of those guys this upcoming.
This is all I'm saying about these Miami fans. I know it's not the same fan base, but when the Miami Heat were getting blown out by the Spurs, they left, and then Ray Allen makes the shot late in the game, and they win. The fans are banging on the door. Let us in. Let us in. Miami fans, come on, you get to be better than that. All right, let's talk about the big storyline, though, guys. Brian Hartline no longer calling plays, still going to work with the receivers. Ryan Day said he's taking that over. Beanie, you think this is an intriguing subplot in this game? Yeah,
I do. I actually like it. From the standpoint of, it being a little more continuity with the play calling. And Brian Hartline, obviously, he's a great coach, right? But you understand the dual task that he's faced with. He's trying to get a program ready at USF in terms of recruits, trying to put together a staff. And I think it would be a little much to ask him to game plan offense, a script for this game, and knowing the big magnitude of the moment of this football game and still coach his receivers and get another program ready. That's a tough task. I mean, it's a tough ask, and I'm glad Ryan Day stepped in and decided to, hey, you know what, Hartline, we respect you. We like you here. We just want you to focus on the receivers. Don't worry about calling a game plan because we know you have to, understand the tempo of a game. Calling a game plan is not easy whatsoever in a big-time college football. So it's a hard task, and I think we need a little bit more tempo. I think Ryan Day getting back to his comfort zone will most certainly help that. And let's not, like Cardale said earlier, I mean, I'm sure Ryan Day had some input on the offense, but him taking over all the way is probably alleviating a lot more stress within the team.
And I would think, Cardale, this is one place where 25 days off actually helps. This would be a way bigger deal if you went from Saturday to Saturday, but you have a month to make this happen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you said, Beanie, I think it was a conversation between Coach Day and Coach Hartline. Basically saying, hey, I got a lot of moving parts going on right now. We want to make sure we're getting your best. And right now, we think your best is coaching the receivers and taking some of these things off your plate as you get ready to transition. Because he can be the South Florida coach here on the first of the year if things don't go as planned for Ohio State. So helping him with that transition, I think, is a tall tale of Ryan Day's leadership. And then, like you said, having 25 days off to get back into the swing of things, of taking over full-time play calling responsibilities for Coach Day. And then there may be some sprinkles in there and things he like to do. One thing we saw from Coach Day over his last couple of years of play calling is, Beanie mentioned it, the tempo. Some things we may expect to see from Julian Sanders' offense this year, maybe going this game through this playoff run, maybe going a little bit more up-tempo. Maybe you sprinkle Lincoln Kingholz in there as well when you're talking about, trying to get the run game going. So one thing you can't kind of, excuse in a situation is experience and the level of play calling Coach Day is versus the experience and level of play calling, Hartline is just early in his play calling career.
Well, I do know one thing, guys. If this game comes down to a field goal, both fan bases will be clutching their rosary in the stands. Because the last time we saw Jaden Fielding, he shanked one in the Big Ten title game. And Miami says, oh, yeah? Well, Carter Davis, our kicker, went 1 for 4 in their game. So, Beanie, how confident can you be when both of your last images of your kickers are less than stellar? And do you think that means 4th and 2, 3, 4, 5 is a go zone at this point?
It very well may be one of those situations where we go for it on 4th down a lot. But to Fielding's credit, he played great all year.
He did.
He played great all year. This just happened to be a big moment to where he missed a chip shot that everybody just thought was going to go in. And then obviously doing it the previous season in the big moment as well. I think that sticks out in everybody's mind. But I'm not as concerned with him as I would be with Miami's kicker, because that was just god awful to be in a situation that many times and you miss that many times.
Cardale, who are you more confident in right now, Carter Davis or Jaden Fielding?
Fielding by far. You got to go with what we've seen last. And I think, like Beanie said, I think that that miss was kind of an outlier. But when you go 1 for 4, that's a tough situation. So I'm gonna give the special teams edge to the Buckeyes.
All right, coming up next here on The Scripted Podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Time for us to fix this playoff once and for all. Why haven't they asked us? We're ready to fix it. Yes. James Madison, Tulane, what are we doing here? More script coming up next. Welcome back to The Scripted Podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Hit us up at The Script OSU. By the way, special bonus show is coming this weekend. Late Saturday night, we're going to drop one over the holidays. One more Cotton Bowl preview, plus we're going to hit the other games as well. Most people have off for the holidays, Beanie. Like a sweatshop around here. We're doing extra shows.
We don't get off. But we love it. We love it. It's all about college football. It's all about the Ohio State Buckeyes. So we love being in these chairs.
Yeah, for sure. We're getting ready to do extra content. Time now for our Dr. Pepper look around the world of college football. Cardale, what on earth is going on? James Madison and Tulane blown out. I'm going to get Beanie's thoughts here in a minute because he's hyped to fix this playoff. But what did you make of James Madison and Tulane? Do we judge them on one bad game and just let it go? Because we've seen good teams get blown out in the playoff before. What do you make of these smaller schools getting hammered?
I'm not judging them on this level because it's not fair to judge them on this level. As Meek Mill says, levels to this shit, I guess. When you're talking about the quality of opponents, and I just know James Madison heads was spinning and walking into Oregon Stadium and like, where the hell are we right now? I mean, the biggest thing I could say if I was on the coach staff, hey guys, enjoy the moment, you deserve it. Let's get out here healthy, get ready for the offseason and things like that, because there was no way they're going to go in there and win this game. And you're talking about these teams facing each other and saying they're one of the top 12 teams in the country versus let's have some sympathy points and put teams in if they do, fairly well in a lesser conference. The criteria doesn't match up to say you're a legit top 12 team in the country. And I think, respectively to the Group of 5 conference and all of their players and teams and coaches and everything, you're just not on that level yet to really compete with top 12 teams in the country.
Yeah, and so, okay, time now for our Buckeye basement solution. How do we fix something in the world of college football? Let's fix this playoff. Beanie, here's the problem. What Cardale basically is saying is no one with common sense honestly believes that these are one of the 12 best teams in the country.
Right.
No one believes that if you play a best of 7 between James Madison and Notre Dame, that the Irish aren't winning 6 out of those 7 games. So what are we doing here, and how do we fix it?
Yeah, I mean, this whole situation was so ridiculous to me this year because the objective and the thought process of the committee, they've always said, is to get the 12 best teams out there. I don't know how you cut it, slice it. They want to get the 12 best teams out there. And when you break down JMU's schedule and how they played this year, they lost a game. So that already says that they wasn't one of the best Group of 5 teams. And then when you break down Tulane, they lost 2 games. So that says they weren't one of the best. So one of the things is, if you want a situation to where you one day have that Cinderella story or you one day have that team from a Group of 5 that gets in the college football playoff, let them earn their win. These teams did not earn their way in. We automatically had a spot for them based off of the structure of the college football system. It's skewed. And it was so bad. It was so ugly. And I know a lot of people, I was firing off on Twitter the other day, and a lot of people kept coming at me. Well, did you not see Oregon just get blown out last year? Well, that was a completely different thing because nobody expected Oregon to go out and get blown out. Ohio State just played that much better. So the question is, how do you fix it? Well, one, you don't have it to where these guys are automatic shoo-in if they don't earn it. Now, do you expand the thing? Yes, I absolutely believe that we need to expand it to 16. I think that's the perfect number for teams to get in. Now you make it, to where certain conferences get an automatic shoe-in. The winner and loser of that conference, as long as it isn't a situation to where we've seen like a Duke going to their conference championship and they already lost 5 games, they don't need to be in there. Have clear, concise rules on the format in which who gets in your conference championship, and then the winner and loser automatically get in. So there's certain teams that have the bid, and then there's certain teams from the field. And again, the Group of 5, you absolutely can get in this thing if you earn it. And you're not just getting a situation to where they're poo-pooing you in there and saying, you get a chance to be in this big dance because everybody else wants to see it. This isn't college basketball, people. College basketball is 68 teams that get in the dance. Now, of those 68 teams, a handful of those Cinderella teams will have an opportunity to make a run. We've seen it happen before. But basketball and football are so much different from a physical standpoint. These games are 9 times out of 10 won or lost in the trenches. And that's where these Group of 5 teams don't even stand a chance. So how do you fix it? You expand it. you make these guys earn it, and you set up a better format for your conferences first, and then you let that follow suit to the college football playoff and how the seeding goes.
We've seen teams earn it in the past, like Luke Fickell's Cincinnati team earned their chance.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, Urban Meyer's undefeated Utah team in this current format would have been in, and they would have earned their chance. Right. I'm in on that. I'm against the idea of expanding, Cardale. I don't want to go over 12. I already think that 12 might be too much, if anything. So where do you come down on this? How would you fix it?
Yeah, I'm not for expanding as well. And I think you look at, the conference champs, clearly you got to put some respect on their names. And, I don't want to put it in a situation where, teams are having automatic bids. I mean, we all knew Ohio State, Indiana, no matter the results of that game, would have automatic bids. So pretty much, that top 4 slots. But I think it comes to a point of starting to hear, getting some logical people in there to be on that committee. College football is the only multi-billion-dollar industry in the committee that is ran by volunteers. Hey guys, I got this really high power machine. You want to run? Cool, come on, let's do it. Gary from Subway, you want to run? Come on, let's do it. It's kind of wild. There's no criteria of a level of experience with these decision makers, and there's no criteria level of logical reasoning with some of these decision makers and some of this stuff. If you want to continue to have a group of 5 team in the college football playoffs, then change their first 4 games of the season before they get into conference. Match them up with more group of 5 teams. And I'm not even saying the top ones. Throw a Syracuse in there. Throw a Louisville in there. Throw a mid-level Big Ten team in there. Just like how Notre Dame sprinkled their season and their schedule all year with mid-level Power 4 group of 4 teams. Mm-hmm. Do that with the group of 5 teams and see how they stack up. And then if they run a table in their conference, you have a more of a legitimate argument. But right now, just giving them an automatic bid just because you win your I'm not all for it.
Dave, I actually think we should have a group of 5 playoff. Think about how entertaining that would be. Mm-hmm. It would draw viewership. One, you're getting the best group of 5 teams, which are some quality teams out there, and you're letting them go head to head. Think about, Toledo, OU facing off with UNLV, which obviously those guys do play in the bowl game, but think of it being in the college football playoff format. Those conferences have a bunch of fans that love that style of football. And not to say that style it's the same style of football, but nonetheless, that tier of football. I think that would draw viewership. And if the goal is to make money, you would certainly be able to do that if you're the powers that be, because the conferences will drive viewership.
You want me to treat it like NCAA has the big tournament, and they also got the NIT, and they also got a new tournament that they just the Conference of Champions or the Tournament of Champions or something like that. This came out the last couple of years. Yeah, turn a group of 5 conference to a 16 playoff system where the first top 2 get the bye, and then you go from there.
Let me ask you this. Would you guys be down to get real crazy and have a group of 5, like a little 4-team bracket, the top 4, and let the winner of that get that final spot in the playoff?
That would be even better.
You know what? I think it's a double-edged sword because clearly they play an extra 2 games. Yeah. And then, so where does that put them in the season? So they probably have to play 2 games in 10 days.
They'd be black and blue by the end of this run.
But
you earn it.
It tries to level the playing field of that short period in that I will call that slugfest of saying, hey, these top 12 teams or these top 11, y'all fighting for the last spot, they went through that slugfest all year in the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC.
Mm-hmm. Or you have a 1 game and you say Tulane plays James Madison, and here are the last 2 that we left out of the Little Fellas. And I'm just saying, something else to make them earn the spot, because clearly they didn't earn the spot. By the way, that's our solution. And if you have damp or wet basement needs, you need a quality solution by a local company. That's Buckeye Basement Solution. They are the pros at waterproofing, foundation repair, and creating dry, healthy spaces you can actually use. No more leaks, no more worries, just peace of mind under your feet. Company founder Brian Mastroianni and his team at Buckeye Basement Solutions wishes you a happy and healthy holidays. Give them a call. BuckeyeBasementSolutions.com, 614-956-4592. We continue our look around the world, our Dr. Pepper look around the world of college football. Kenny Dillingham extends his contract at Arizona State, so he's not going to Michigan. Beanie, right now, Brian Kelly is that meme of the guy behind the tree rubbing his hands together, because at some point, he's going to be the only candidate left here. What is going on? What does Michigan need to do now? No one wants the job.
Yeah, I mean, they have bigger issues at hand. And I don't think anybody out there wants a job because some sanctions are coming down. I mean, yeah, we can sit there and say that they already had the sanctions with the whole Connor Stallion situation. But when this university has went through 3 back-to-back-to-back scandals, something else is coming down the pike for this university. There may be some situations to where they're going to be exiled out of bowl games, exiled the wins that they already had. Something's going to happen. Now, is Michigan still going to be a great job? Nonetheless, it's one of the most prestigious universities out there. And I can't even believe I just said that. But nonetheless, somebody's going to take that job, but it's not going to be a big name. One of these big names is steering far and clear away from it because they know it's more coming down the pipe. Whether the AD's fired, whether the president of the university's fired, something else is happening. And it's going to be a trickle-down effect to the football program.
Yeah, Cardale, you don't know who the AD is going to be. I still don't think there's any way Ward Manuel survives this. So what do you make of Kenny Dillingham extending with Arizona State?
I mean, I think it's premature. And I think, these college decision makers who's continue to extend these cultures, they're not businessmen. They're just reacting. They're emotional people that's reacting off the fear of losing a guy versus rewarding a guy for what he has done and what the future may hold. Look at, unfortunately, Mike Elko's situation where no way should have lost the last 2 games of the season to Texas, an in-state rival, and then the way you just looked at home. But yes, guess what? A&M, prematurely early in the season, you jumped the gun, you gave him all that money, now you stuck with him. And not saying stuck with him in a bad way. I still think he's a good coach, but I don't think the dollar amount and the win total and what he has done has represented the big contract, and same with Kenny Dillingham. I think Michigan is going to be forced to go get an up-and-coming guy that's not proven yet, to see if he can make his mark on this program. And I said before, I continue to stay on the table about this, you got to go out of the program now to go find that guy that's going to cleanse that program and pretty much, I wouldn't say blow the whole thing up, but build his own thing and bring in his own staff and his own way of doing things.
All right, let's finish up the show today with Legend Bay. Last week, we told you about the Ohio State commit who ended up going to Tennessee because his family wanted him to, a lot of outside pressure. He asked out of his letter of intent. They gave him the release. He is now officially a Buckeye. So, Cardale, I don't know how much you can tell me behind the scenes here at all, but Legend Bay is officially a Buckeye. What do you think of this? And really the question I want to know, is he saved in your phone as just Bay in the contact?
No, zero chance of that. But no, I think the recruiting guys over at the Woody Hayes, Mark Pantoni and his crew did a great job of recruiting the kid from day one, and all the stories coming out about him going to Tennessee and still wanting to be a Buckeye. We saw him sign his national letter to intent to Tennessee, but still work out and walk around in Buckeye gear. So I think the recruiting process up until this point has done its job. And unfortunately, he had to take this route and go through this whirlwind of emotions over the last couple of weeks to get to ultimately where he wanted to be. So I would love to, I wouldn't even say take credit, but be a part of that decision-making to getting him flipping back to Ohio State. But yeah, get credit where credit is due. Him knowing where he want to be, sticking to his guns, and then also the job that, Mark Pantoni and those guys did over at the Woody Hayes to continue probably to stay on him to make sure he can be a Buckeye.
I'm so happy for him too, man, because that would have been the awful situation is him going to a university he never really wanted to go out. You're not going to get his best. And who knows if he's going to come here at Ohio State and be a superstar. But nonetheless, the kid wanted to be here, and you deserve to be able to make your own decision, especially if it's something that's going to, decide your future, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so kudos to the kid. Kudos to, like you said, the Ohio State coaching staff for staying on him and recruiting. I just hope and pray that the family dynamic hasn't shifted too much to where they can't still, be together and support the young man in the way that he needs to be supported moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, your kid is going to school for free.
Mm-hmm.
He's making money, and he's playing for the top football program in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
It worked out well for Legend Bay. So hopefully from a family standpoint, it does as well. Cardale.
Yeah, and I hope his family, how some of those Buckeye fans can be ruthless and things like that. I hope the Buckeye Nation is welcome his family and will open arms, even though it seemed like they didn't want him to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that'll do it for us on this edition of The Script, the podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Remember, Saturday night, check your feed. Special show dropping. I'm going to be in Dallas with the Buckeyes on the Cotton Bowl, so we're going to be remote all over the country, but we're doing an extra show for you Saturday night as Ohio State gets ready to play the Miami Hurricanes. We'll see you here Saturday night.